Greetings, MBAP 516 Organizational Behavior students. This is Dr. Jaros with a video explanation for how I graded Exam 2. So let's look at the questions. Number 1, generally speaking, what are phases of evolution and revolution as an organization develops? What impact does an industry's growth rate have on how a company experiences them? Is a manager who is effective in leading a company through one phase necessarily going to be effective leading them through a later phase? Explain. Well, an organization goes through 5 phases of evolution. These are creativity, direction, delegation, coordination, and collaboration. Phases of evolution are long periods of time where the organization faces a placid or stable business environment and is therefore able to operate efficiently and effectively. In contrast, every once in a while, an organization faces a period of revolution. These periods buffer the periods of evolution and represent crises times where the business environment is changing rapidly and dynamically, and these are crises that the managers of the organization have to successfully resolve in order to move to the next phase of evolution. If an industry is growing fast, this does impact on how organizations experience these phases. Generally speaking, if an industry is growing at a fast rate, then periods of revolution tend to be more frequent, and periods of evolution tend to be shorter, of a shorter duration. Finally, the skills needed to manage a firm in one stage of evolution may be very different from the skills needed to manage a firm effectively in another phase of evolution. And therefore, it is not necessarily the case that a leader who is effective in leading a company through one phase is necessarily going to be effective leading them through another phase. An organization may require different leaders during different phases of evolution or revolution. Number 2, if my boss, the dean of the College of Business, tells me, a faculty member, to serve on a curriculum committee and reminds me that doing so is part of my job description, what kind of power is he or she trying to exercise over me? Explain. Well, based on the French and Raven article, the leader is attempting to exercise legitimate power over you, because legitimate power is power based on position and authority. And in this case, the dean is exercising his legitimate power or authority over me, since the dean is above me in the College of Business hierarchy, to order me, in effect, to attend on the curriculum committee. The second part of the question says, if they later tell me to attend a social event with them that is not part of my job description, am I as likely to comply? Well, the answer to that question is no, I'm not as likely to comply, because this request falls beyond the parameters of the legitimate authority of the leader. Since attending a social event is not a part of my job description, I am less likely to attend. Could this request impact future requests to serve on college committees? Yes, it can. French and Raven emphasize that if a leader misuses legitimate authority by trying to get the subordinate to do things beyond the parameters of their job description, the subordinate may lose respect for the leader and therefore be less likely to comply to legitimate requests in the future. Question number 3. What are the steps an organization can take to strengthen their decision-making processes? Well, this question came from the Grunwald article on good leaders making bad decisions. Grunwald talks about the fact that since decision-making processes and decision makers are subject to biases, there are 3 things that an organization can do to strengthen decision-making processes. Number 1, inject fresh experience or analysis into the decision-making process by exposing the decision maker to new information. Number 2, introduce further debate and challenge that will challenge the leader's biases, such as setting up steering committees to check a strong leader's power. And number 3, impose stronger governance on decision makers, meaning require that a decision that a leader makes be ratified by a higher level, such as a board of directors. These are the 3 things that Grunwald outlines that an organization can do to strengthen decision-making processes. Finally, question number 4. For a manager to be successful at raising the morale and productivity of his or her subordinates, is it better for the manager to be motivated by their desire to wield power or motivated by the desire to be liked by their subordinates? Explain. Well, according to the McClelland article, it is better for the leader to be motivated by the desire to wield power more than by the need to be liked. In his study, 73% of the better managers had a need for power that was greater than their need for affiliation, where need for affiliation means the need to be liked. But this was dependent on the nature of their desire to wield power. This was true of leaders who had an altruistic need for power, meaning a need for power rooted in the desire to serve others. Leaders who had a need for power that was personally focused, who just wanted to wield that power so that they could make themselves richer or have higher status, tended to perform more poorly. The reason altruistic power motivation tends to be more effective in terms of producing good leadership is because it makes the leader want to rise through the ranks, which means they must perform well and must motivate their subordinates to perform at a high level. It is also because subordinate morale is influenced by perceptions of fairness. And high affiliation managers, the managers who focus more on being liked by their subordinates, they are often unwilling to make tough decisions that might need to be made. And most importantly, because they are motivated by a desire to be liked, they often play favorites. They often cut corners and allow certain employees to get away with things. And this breeds resentment on the part of other subordinates who believe the manager is prejudiced against them or who is otherwise playing favorites. And this decreases the morale of subordinates within their work group and thus their performance. Okay, that was exam number 2. I hope my explanation is helpful to you in terms of understanding the grade you received.